The first thing people noticed about him wasn't the tattoos crawling up his neck like dark memories that refused to fade, or the heavy Hell's Angels patch stitched across his back like a warning sign to the world. It was the way his hands trembled when he pushed open the door of the roadside bar, as if something inside him already knew this night was about to crack his life wide open. One moment, he was just another feared biker passing through a forgotten town. The next, he was standing still, breath caught in his chest, staring at a scene so gentle it didn't belong in a place like this. Before the story pulls you any deeper, take a second and do something meaningful. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that even the hardest hearts can still feel something real, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect people everywhere. His name was Jack Mercer, and fear followed him wherever he rode. Years in the Hells Angels had taught him how to survive violence, how to carry pain without flinching, and how to shut down parts of his heart that once felt too much. He had buried a brother, buried friends, and buried emotions so deep he wasn't sure they were still alive. The bar was supposed to be nothing more than a pit stop, a place to drink, eat, and disappear before dawn. But then he saw her. At the far corner table sat a little girl named Lily, her small body twisted in ways that spoke of a life filled with hospitals and quiet suffering. Her eyes were bright, though, shining with a kind of innocence that hadn't learned how cruel the world could be. A young waitress named Emily knelt beside her, spoon-feeding her carefully, wiping her mouth with patience and warmth that didn't come from obligation. Emily's uniform was worn, her shoes scuffed, her smile tired but genuine. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't annoyed. She was simply being kind. Jack didn't know why it hit him so hard. Maybe it was because no one had ever knelt for him when he was broken. Maybe it was because Lily reminded him of the daughter he never got to meet, a life that slipped through his fingers years ago when he chose the road instead of responsibility. His chest tightened as he watched Emily help Lily sip water, whispering encouragement, celebrating small victories like they were miracles. The bar around them was loud, rough, and careless, but that corner felt sacred. Jack took a seat without realizing it, his beer untouched, his eyes fixed on something that didn't belong in his world. When Emily finally stood and returned to work, Jack noticed how the manager scolded her for taking too long, how she nodded silently and kept moving. He noticed how Lily's mother, exhausted and hollow-eyed, mouthed a thank you with tears she couldn't afford to cry. Jack left money on the table and walked out, but he didn't leave the moment behind. It followed him down the highway, echoing in the roar of his engine. All night, he saw Lily's smile. All night, he saw Emily's quiet compassion. By morning, something inside him refused to stay buried. Emily's life was a struggle most people never saw. She worked double shifts to help Lily's mother pay medical bills. She skipped meals so others wouldn't have to. She believed kindness mattered, even when the world didn't reward it. She had no idea that a man like Jack Mercer had noticed her, or that her small act of care had landed in the heart of someone the world had written off as dangerous and cruel. 2 days later, the bar owner decided Emily was too slow, too soft, too much trouble. He fired her without hesitation, right in front of customers. Lily wasn't there to see it, but the cruelty still cut deep. Emily walked out with shaking hands, wondering how kindness had once again cost her everything. That evening, the sound of engines rolled into town like distant thunder. One by one, motorcycles lined the street outside the bar. People peered through windows, fear spreading faster than rumors. Nearly 200 Hells Angels filled the road, leather, chrome, and muscle forming a wall of presence that made the ground feel unsteady. Jack Mercer stood at the front, inside the bar. Panic set in. The owner tried to laugh it off, but his hands shook. The patrons fell silent. No one understood why they were here, but everyone felt the weight of it. Jack stepped forward, not with violence, but with purpose. He remembered Emily's face. He remembered Lily's smile. He remembered the man he could have been. What happened next wasn't about intimidation, though it looked that way from the outside. It was about accountability. Jack made it clear that kindness had value, that people who showed compassion deserved protection, not punishment. The bar owner, faced with the consequences of his cruelty, had no choice but to listen. Emily was offered her job back, with better hours and fair pay, and a donation was made to help Lily's medical care. It wasn't charity. It was justice, biker style, rough-edged but sincere. Word spread fast. The waitress who fed a disabled child had been seen by the unlikeliest guardian. Emily returned to work with tears in her eyes, not because of the bikers, but because someone had finally stood up for her goodness. Lily's mother wept when she heard what happened, holding her daughter a little tighter, believing for the first time in a long while that the world might not be done being kind. Jack didn't stay long. He never liked thanks. As the engines roared away, something in him felt lighter. He didn't erase his past. He didn't pretend to be a hero. But he carried that moment with him, proof that even men shaped by darkness could still protect the light. That if this story is starting to touch something inside you, hold on to that feeling. Let it remind you that small acts of kindness can ripple outward in ways we may never see, changing lives far beyond their moment. Years later, Emily would tell Lily about the night angels arrived on motorcycles. Lily would smile, not understanding all the details, but feeling the warmth behind the story. Jack would ride on, still rough, still feared, but no longer empty. Somewhere along the road, he had found a piece of his soul again. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something simple but meaningful. Please comment below and tell us what part of this story stayed with you the most, and if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion can exist in the most unexpected places. Please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and stay subscribed for more stories that remind us what it means to be human.